Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to look at a foundational piece of American history, but we're going to do it by focusing on the raw facts, the numbers, and the ultimate resolution of a massive national fracture. It's kind of like putting together a giant puzzle to understand one of the most defining moments in the United States.
We're going to kick things off right off the bat with a multiple choice question. The American Civil War saw the end of what exactly? Now, you might be thinking, hey, I already know the answer to this. And yeah, you probably do for sure. But we're not just here to solve a mystery today. We want to use this question to anchor our analysis. We're going to look at the sheer systemic and structural breakdown it actually took to get to that final answer. It's all about understanding this immense national shift through the raw data of a historic rupture. So, to really understand that shift, we need to anchor ourselves in the years 1861 to 1865. This wasn't some war against a foreign enemy, right? It was a massive internal rupture. You'll sometimes hear it called the war between the states. And at the very core of this conflict was secession. Now, this wasn't just a simple political disagreement. It was the active, literal withdrawal of states from a federal body. That one single action completely transformed a unified nation into a fractured landmass, setting the stage for an unavoidable, massive internal confrontation. Now, if you look at the data, it reveals a pretty stark, lopsided fracture across the continent. On one side of the divide, you have 11 southern slave states declaring their secession. Bracing against them, holding that federal line, were 25 states. The sheer numerical difference here is really striking. You have a significantly smaller block of 11 states trying to break away from a much larger, deeply entrenched 25-state stronghold.
And what actually emerged from that geographic split was the rapid, almost rigid creation of two totally distinct factions sharing the exact same landmass. Those seceding southern states banded together to form a brand new entity, the Confederate States of America. And they stood in direct opposition to the existing federal structure, which operated as the Union. This is the exact moment things escalated from a regional dispute into a formal, all-out clash between two highly organized opposing governments. Of course, that political split directly translated into devastating physical fallout starting in 1861. For 4 grueling years, a massive war raged. And the geographic reality of that combat is absolutely crucial to understand. The overwhelming majority of the destruction, the troop movements, the warfare itself, it was contained almost entirely within the borders of the southern states. So the very states that attempted to leave ended up bearing the catastrophic, localized brunt of the conflict until it finally came to an end in 1865. Well, the conclusion of those 4 years wasn't just one single stroke. It was a deeply connected two-part resolution. First, you had the necessary military conclusion, which was the total surrender of the Confederacy. But that military victory, that was really just the mechanism required to enforce the true systemic conclusion. Because the Confederacy yielded, the federal government was finally able to enact a massive societal shift, mandating that slavery be abolished everywhere in the nation, without exception. Which brings us right back to our original question. Looking at that resolution, we can definitively say the ultimate verified outcome of this devastating conflict was the end of slavery. The total institutional and military defeat of the Confederacy acted as the sole catalyst required to eradicate that deeply entrenched system across the entire United States. It completely and permanently transformed the nation's future. So we've traced the stark reality of the numbers today, 11 states facing off against a 25-state federal stronghold. We've weighed the toll of 4 continuous years of localized, highly destructive warfare. Considering the sheer volume of that data, it really leaves us with a necessary question to chew on. How do we truly grasp the immense scale of the conflict required to achieve this nationwide abolition? It's a stark reminder of the monumental cost exacted to sever a deeply rooted institution and permanently redefine a nation. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.